Quick disclaimer, this video was originally supposed to be about Mordekaiser, but then my computer decided it'd be a good idea to have the hard drive where I record and edit videos completely stop working, so I lost all of my progress on that video. However, since I am trying to grow my channel, I had to shift topics to Bel'Veth since she's the newest champ, but Mordekaiser will be making a return after the video on Nyla, or Neela, however you pronounce her name. Okay, good? Good. Love you, and now onto the video. Stacking champions are a fine balancing act in League of Legends. If what they're getting off of their stacks is too little, then it ends up feeling like getting socks for Christmas when you're 6. It doesn't matter how big and yellow that SpongeBob face is, you'd much prefer the newest Mario game. Conversely, if what they're getting off of their stacks is too big, then it ends up feeling like getting socks for Christmas when you're in college, which is just 2 more weeks without having to do any laundry. In other cases, stacking champion is still one of the hardest characters to balance. If they get too much out of their stacks or get them too easily, we have the abomination known as Senna, where Riot is still to this day trying to figure out her soul drop rate, and if what they get out of their stacks is too little or obtaining them is too hard, we end up with Cho'Gath where his extra stats are just kinda there. So, instead of addressing the problems that stacking champions already have in the game, Riot decided to just plop another one into the game like we wouldn't notice. Bel'Veth's Vussy? What am I reading? Bel'Veth is the newest addition to League of Legends roster, and one that a lot of people, myself included, didn't know how to feel about. Personally, I can usually see a champion being played and see their abilities and get an okay idea for how they feel to play, but for all the 50 or so games I played in Bel'Veth, it was really only to the last 10 where I was able to say I didn't feel completely awkward on the champion. And it's not as if Bel'Veth is a very hard champion to understand, but when you try to put all the abilities in her kit together, it makes her a very awkward playstyle, especially when you feel as though you should be moving around really fast and doing all these quick things, but then 3 of your abilities just stop you from doing anything but using them. Not to mention, this character is also a reset melee auto attack based assassin skirmisher that deals every type of damage under the sun, and now I think you're realizing why I said this character is so weird to get a feel for. You want physical damage? You can attack over the attack speed cap. You want true damage? You have stacking true damage with a massive AoE burst of it too. You want magic damage? Okay, I bet that one isn't too great, but it's still there if you really want to go for that AP build. So please join me as I discuss the mess of this champion and the honest truth about Bel'Veth, the Empress of the Void. Now, Bel'Veth's lore is a bit weird and also slightly confusing because not everything is properly explained or even really contained within just her normal biography. Because to truly understand Bel'Veth, we need to understand the Watchers, and to understand the Watchers, we really need to understand the Void, and to understand the Void, well, I think you get it by now. I'm going to try to run through this as quickly as possible because this video doesn't need to be any longer than it actually is, and I do not have the proper amount of crunch bars to last through a deep explanation of everything, so here's the abridged version. 1 Clintonillion years ago, there was the Void, and then out of nowhere, our reality came along and the Void got really angry at us. So the Void did the only reasonable thing. It had all of their current inhabitants get as mad as they could possibly be, which spawned the initial Void spawn and the Watchers. All of these things were made with the idea that if they could destroy our reality, then they could be able to return to how they were prior to our reality, basically giving them the sniffles. I'm not even making it up, it's literally referred to as an allergic reaction in the official universe page. Anyways, the Watchers are eventually restrained in Ice Belisandre, and the only threat of them, while still looming, is stopped for a very long time, leaving only some Void spawn coming out every now and again to truly be threats to existence. Then, an amount of time rivaling how old Joe Biden is passes, and the Void has a strange growth that's growing at its heart, because apparently it has that. This growth had a new purpose that was in pure contradiction to what the Watchers and the old Void wanted. This new growth didn't simply want to destroy all of our reality, instead it wanted to consume all of our reality and remake it into a new part of the Void itself. In order to do this, this growth needed something to interface with the humans it so desperately wanted, and that something was Bel'Veth, but we'll be getting back to her later. Another millennia or so passes, and during the Acathian rebellion against Shurima, a special weapon that was found buried underneath the sand was used when the Ascended were massacring the Acathian people, and this led to the giant Void portal which inevitably destroyed all of Acathia, leaving Jax as its sole survivor and causing some of the Ascended to be turned into the Darken. This giant Void portal that still lingers there to this day is where most of our modern Void-related champions have come from, including that wonderful new growth that we are now returning to. This growth consumed the Shuriman port city of Bel'Veth and then named itself out of the city, which is considered weird because Void spawns do not give themselves names. Now, Bel'Veth, the champion, not the city, is a walking amalgamation of the collective thoughts, memories, experiences, and abilities of millions of people that she has devoured and repurposed in order to serve her purpose of bringing the whole of existence into her Lavender Sea. Also, for those wondering if she killed Kai'Sa at the end of that cinematic, I have good or bad news depending on your thoughts about Kai'Sa. No, Kai'Sa is still very much alive, and Bel'Veth essentially told her that this new Void is inevitable and that she should go kill the Watchers herself and she'll give the world slightly longer to live, which I'm assuming is where we'll be picking off in the Void event that's supposed to be happening later this year. God damn it! Why did I feel the need to bring in the lore section? This series is supposed to be fast and funny. I didn't think I'd need to be explaining the whole lore of Runeterra. That's Necrit's job. Also, apparently, her true form is 200 times larger than her normal form. Anyways, let's go into the abilities before my editor hands me another revised version of the script and I have to keep talking about whatever the hell this is. Bel'Veth's passive is Death in Lavender. Bel'Veth's base attack speed is faster than every other champion in the game, and her attack speed isn't capped at 2.5 like every other champion. However, damage dealt by her basic attacks, including on-hit effects, is reduced, and Bel'Veth does not gain attack speed per level. The reason she doesn't gain attack speed per level is due to the other part of her passive, and the reason why she is a stacking champion. Whenever Bel'Veth gets a takedown against an enemy champion, epic, or large monster, or cannon minion within 3 seconds of damaging them, she gets a permanent stack of Lavender. Each stack of Lavender grants Bel'Veth bonus attack speed based on her level, and you get more stacks from champions and epic monsters than from minions and large monsters. The third and final part of her passive, because champions can have that many now, is that whenever Bel'Veth casts any ability, she generates 2 stacks of Death and Lavender that gets shown in her resource bar, stacking up to 6 times. While she has any stacks, Bel'Veth is ghosted and gains even more bonus attack speed based on level, and each attack drains 1 stack. Also, if she doesn't attack anything within a few seconds, then she loses all of her stacks. This is where Bel'Veth's identity as a stacking champion comes from, and in my opinion, it's one of the fairer ones that we've seen. You're rewarded as a stacking champion for playing the game, and where you get your stacks from is limited enough that you can reliably stack and be effective without being aggressive in your play, but also have the option to get further ahead through some aggression. Unlike Senna, who gets her overloaded stacks for just autoing enemy champions from 10 miles away, Bel'Veth gets hers from actively doing what her role seeks her to do, but only gets one type of stat without getting too much gold value from each stack. Bel'Veth's Q is Void Surge. Bel'Veth gets arrows around her pointing in little brother versions of the 4 cardinal directions. Think of these arrows kind of like Urgot's shotgun knees. Each arrow isn't just the direction, but for a 90-degree angle that she can dash towards, meaning you can double dash in the same direction to consume 2 arrows. Dashing through a target deals damage and applies on-hit and spell effects to the first target hit. Just like with Urgot's shotgun knees, each direction has its own unique cooldown, and the cooldown of each direction is lowered by attack speed. Finally, it resets her basic attack timer, and it cannot go over walls yet. This is the main ability that you'll be using during the game. Whether it's for damage, clearing the jungle with AoE damage, mobility, or to get stacks with your passive, get ready to have slightly less buff ring finger than a scar in her main. This is also the ability that paired with the insane attack speed that you get from your passive that'll make you think that Bel'Veth is a hyper-mobile skirmisher that's constantly on the move with a barrage of attacks, and you'll soon find out why she's just so awkward. Bel'Veth's W is above and below. Thank God that's so little text this time. Bel'Veth roots herself in place while she targets an area in front of her. After a small cast time, she knocks up, deals damage, and slows all targets inside of the effect. Also, if your Void Surge arrow in that direction is on cooldown, it will be instantly refreshed, meaning the standard combo is to Q towards someone, knock them up with W, then Q again to deal actual damage by passing through them and also fully stacking your passive. Also, if you hit multiple enemy champions, you can reset multiple arrows, but don't count on that happening more than once every couple of games. This ability is the start of Bel'Veth's downfall. Even though it takes a very small amount of time to actually cast, it still takes enough time that it takes away from the flow of the champion that it gets established off of her Q and passive. Not to mention that it's the ability they max last, unless you're doing some weird AP build, so it just ends up doing so little damage with such a long cooldown and such a small amount of actual CC for the majority of the game. Bel'Veth's E is Royal Maelstrom. Bel'Veth plants herself in place for 1.5 seconds, during which she's unable to move or cast any other abilities. During this time, Bel'Veth gains a bunch of lifesteal, gets the most base damage reduction I've seen on any ability, and starts rapidly attacking any enemies that enter this small circle around her. Bel'Veth prioritizes the enemy with the lowest percentage health and does more damage per attack based on their missing health. The amount of attacks that she performs during this time can be increased by attack speed. After a small duration, Bel'Veth can recast his ability to end it early or use any of her other abilities without the cast. The target hit doesn't have to be visible to Bel'Veth, whether that means being invisible or inside of a brush, and this ability will not target towers or wards. This ability is so good and so bad at the same time because it plays into exactly what I've been saying about this champion, where she's able to stop moving during so many of her abilities. But this ability is also so good when you can isolate yourself and the person that you want to hit, because it attacks them so quickly that it'll fully stack Conqueror, Lethal Tempo, and proc on-hit effects faster than anything else in the game, and it just shreds people. If you get enough damage on people, even in the early game, you feel like you're grading away their health faster than Italian waiters pour on the cheese to your dish, so you have to try and stop them. At that point, you're just sitting there with a cheese pile up to your chin and some soggy pasta underneath it. Bel'Veth's ultimate is, by God, why is it so long? Even in the game, this thing is so long and unreadable. Why is it that we need such long and complicated abilities, Riot? Anyways, Bel'Veth's ultimate is Endless Banquet. Passively, every second auto attack on the same target within 5 seconds deals bonus true damage to the target, stacking infinitely. Meaning the first second attack, that's a weird way to put it, will do 10 damage, the second attack will do 20, and the next will do 30, so on and so forth until you can't hit them anymore. Fortunately, for objective taking, the true damage is capped on monsters. This is also why Bel'Veth's E is such a dangerous ability, because with enough attack speed you can get up to almost 15 attacks, meaning you'll be able to apply 7 more stacks of this true damage onto whoever you're trying to hit. Pair that with a Kraken Slayer, now she's just ripping and tearing through your team like some really purple Doom Slayer because you can't negate or reduce true damage. Also passively, whenever Bel'Veth scores a takedown against an enemy champion or epic monster, she spawns a Void Coral for 15 seconds. Actively, Bel'Veth dashes to the targeted Void Coral and starts consuming it. While she's consuming it, nearby enemies have a rapidly increasing slow applied to them, and once consumed, Bel'Veth does even more true damage as a giant AoE burst to every enemy within the circle around her. She then heals herself and assumes her true form for the next minute, which grants her bonus health based on her AD and AP, bonus out of combat movement speed, bonus honor range, bonus attack speed. It makes her model bigger, it makes it so her Q can go through terrain! My god, this champion just feels like the 200 years version of Master Yi with the amount of free stats that she gets. She's just this giant ball of stat checking you while she does a goddamn JoJo impression. If the Void Coral that Bel'Veth consumes comes from either Rift Herald or Baron Nashor, then her true form instead lasts for 3 whole minutes and causes any nearby minions that die to become Void or more, which are basically these little fish-looking guys will push the lane they die in and act as basically extra minions, but they can spawn from both ally and enemy minions, making them single waves that you have with them that much more powerful. And they can be empowered by Baron buff as well. And if all that wasn't enough, if she wasn't already the empress of free stats and free true damage, every time that she consumes a coral she gets another stack of her passive, meaning that if she kills you post 6, she's now getting 3 stacks of her passive instead of 1, and she doesn't have to spend the time to consume every single coral in a team fight, because once she consumes 1 coral, she consumes all of the void corals on the map and gets stacks of her passive for each one. I just read over a page on this ability and still haven't been able to tell you how good and bad this ability is. It's so good due to all the free stats and free true damage that you get, but it's also so bad because it takes so long to cast before you can start moving again. The effect of the AoE for the true damage is smaller than most ADC's attack ranges. If you die, then you're forced out of your true form, which especially sucks if you had the empowered one and were just trying to push with your little fish, but your team doesn't want to help, and even with the bonus health this character wants to build full damage, so you're still so squishy until late game where your base health is actually good. Now, is Bel'Veth good? Well, apparently yes, because you got nerfed the patch after her release, but at the same time this champion just feels so awkward to play until you get enough games under your belt. But once you do have enough experience, this champion starts feeling awesome because you finally get an idea of what you really need to be doing. Power farming is not really the right way to describe what you want to do with Bel'Veth, because it's not just about farming the jungle camps, but also the souls of the enemy team while they think about the choices that have led them to being eaten alive by a mommy dom. Why does my editor keep putting this itself in the script? Eric, what the hell, man? But honestly, I think Bel'Veth is a lesson in how stacking characters really should be. They shouldn't be so simple like Veigar, Sion, and Senna where they just get their stacks for basically existing, but they shouldn't be like Kindred where you need to be constantly putting yourself in harm's way if you want any amount of good stacks. The honest truth is that the way Bel'Veth gets her stacks is the way that other stacking champions should. Have it be that each individual stack doesn't give that much and you can get them passively through playing for farm, but if you play aggressively and get kills or objectives, then you should be rewarded by reaching those higher stacks quicker. And that aggressive play should come from killing people, not just hitting them with abilities like a really pissed off cat batting at their enemy laner. What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? I hope you've enjoyed the honest truth about Bel'Veth. If you did, go leave a comment down below and tell me who you think I should be doing an honest truth about next, although the next one's going to be Nyla no matter what, and then after that it's going to be Mordekaiser. But hey, tell me who you think I should do after Mordekaiser. And then while you're down there, hey, might as well go subscribe and hit that notification bell so you can be updated when any new honest truths comes out, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye-bye!